never easy, kind of diving into these heavier topics. But sometimes they're the ones that really need our attention the most, right?
Yeah.
So many of you sent us this episode, The Catcher Case, Who's Wrong and What Can Be Done. And it's from the channel Bichaar Dhaara.
Okay.
With hosts Amit and Ria. And wow, this situation is just heartbreaking. We're talking about a Nepali student at KIIT University in India who was found dead.
Oh, wow.
And it seems like all signs point to a possible suicide linked to harassment.
Yeah, it's really the university's initial reaction, or I guess you could say lack thereof, right?
Yeah.
That's really fascinating to me. It seems like they put damage control ahead of student safety. They even temporarily asked Nepali students to leave campus.
It's wild. Could you imagine being told to leave your home, your support system after going through something so traumatic?
No, absolutely not. I think that speaks volumes about how some institutions value their public image over actually, genuinely caring for their students.
Right.
And the KIIT case really shines a light on the responsibility that these universities have for their students' safety and well-being, especially international students who, might be facing a whole other, set of challenges being so far away from home.
Of course. And we should be clear that what we know about the incident itself comes from reports and claims,
right?
Not officially confirmed facts.
Right.
But it does seem like this Nepali student had reported harassment from another student, and the university's response was, inadequate at best.
Yeah.
So this brings up a big question for me. Where does the blame really lie?
Yeah.
It's easy to point fingers at the alleged harasser, and rightfully so if the claims are true. But the university's inaction, their failure to address these complaints, that seems to have played a part in this tragedy as well.
Yeah. No, that's a really crucial point. It gets at what Amit and Ria called a shared responsibility.
Yeah.
So yes, the alleged harasser bears, a heavy burden, but the university's failure to create a safe environment where students feel heard and protected is a major factor as well.
Right. It's like sending up a flare and having nobody respond.
Exactly. So this is where the discussion of solutions gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Amit and Ria suggest that, a really good place to start is with a robust grievance system.
Okay.
And not just any system. They argue for one that has anonymous reporting features, which, this could encourage more students, especially those from marginalized groups, to come forward without fear of retribution. What do you think about that?
That's a great point. But I do wonder, wouldn't that make it susceptible to misuse? Like, how do they address that?
That's such a good question. And it's one that they actually tackle head on in the episode.
Okay.
They propose a multi-layered approach.
Okay.
That has clear guidelines, thorough investigation processes, and safeguards against false reporting. So it's about finding that balance between encouraging reporting, but also ensuring fairness.
I see. So it's not just about having a system in place, but about designing it in a way that fosters trust and accountability. Exactly. It needs to be a safety net, not a bureaucratic maze.
Right. And what happened at KIIT isn't an isolated incident.
Right.
You'll see in your research that there's this growing movement globally that's holding universities accountable for creating safe spaces.
Yeah.
And Min and Ria even reference a recent study that showed a significant increase in student activism surrounding these issues.
That's a really good point. That makes me wonder, a strong grievance system is crucial.
Yeah.
But what about the emotional well-being of the students who've already experienced harassment?
Right.
Amit and Ria bring up the need for comprehensive mental health support, and I think that that's a critical part of the solution as well.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about counseling services awareness programs to kind of destigmatize mental health and regular check-ins to identify students who might be struggling. And, especially for international students who are already facing those cultural differences and being far away from their usual support systems, they need that culturally sensitive support that really understands, those unique needs. It's about fostering a sense of belonging, of being seen and heard.
It's about creating a space where they know they're not alone.
Yeah.
And, that leads perfectly into another point that Amit and Ria emphasize, which is transparency and communication from the university.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just, have these systems in place. They need to be visible and accessible, and students need to trust that they work. The university needs to actually demonstrate that complaints are taken seriously, investigations are done fairly, and that there are consequences for those who, violate the rules.
Oh, right. Imagine the impact if a university was proactively communicating with its student body, being open about the steps they're taking to address harassment and ensure safety.
Yeah.
It creates a culture of accountability. It's a deterrent for potential offenders. And most importantly, it creates a sense of security for the students.
You're right. It sends that message that their well-being actually matters. And this goes beyond just, reactive measures.
Okay.
It's about preventing these situations from happening in the first place.
Right.
Which brings us to a broader point that Amit and Ria touch on, which is cross-cultural sensitivity.
This is so crucial.
Yeah.
Particularly on campuses with such diverse student populations.
Right.
It's about fostering an inclusive environment where everyone feels welcome, respected, and valued.
Mm-hmm.
This means promoting cultural awareness, providing resources for international students to help them adapt to their new surroundings, and addressing any biases or prejudices that might exist.
It's about creating a community where everyone feels like they belong, where those differences are celebrated, not ostracized.
Yes.
And this deep dive into the KIIT case makes us realize that, these aren't just issues at one university. These are systemic issues that are affecting students everywhere.
You've hit the nail on the head. This case serves as a stark reminder that individual acts of harassment have devastating ripple effects. But it also exposes the failures of institutions to adequately address these issues, to protect their students, and to foster that culture of respect and inclusivity.
It really makes you think, are we doing enough to create truly safe and inclusive learning environments? This is a question we all need to be asking ourselves.
Absolutely. And on that note, let's take a pause here and we'll pick up this conversation in part 2. You're not going to want to miss what comes next.
It's easy to get caught up in those reactive measures, right? Like the grievance systems and the mental health support. But Amit and Ria really emphasize prevention. And they say that promoting cross-cultural sensitivity on campuses could actually play a big role in stopping these situations before they even begin.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's about fostering that sense of understanding and respect for, different cultures, backgrounds, and perspectives.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it, a campus where everyone feels seen and heard and valued. Wouldn't that be less fertile ground for harassment to even take root?
Exactly. They even suggest mandatory cultural sensitivity training for all incoming students and faculty.
Wow.
Imagine freshman orientation, where it's not just about the library hours and the meal plans,
Right.
but it actually delves into the richness and the challenges of navigating such a diverse community.
That would be a game changer. It could help students develop empathy, challenge their own biases, and, build bridges instead of walls. Think back to your own college experience. Did you have anything like that?
Not really. It was pretty much sink or swim back then.
Yeah.
But even simple things can make a difference.
Yeah.
Amit and Ria talk about encouraging those student-led initiatives,
Right.
like cultural exchange programs or mentorship programs that pair international students with domestic students.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about fostering those personal connections, breaking down stereotypes, creating a sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
I bet those kinds of experiences have a lasting impact on students.
Absolutely. This whole discussion about, inclusivity and sensitivity reminds me of another interesting point that Amit and Ria made. They say that universities need to go beyond just reacting to incidents of harassment and adopt this proactive approach to fostering a culture of respect.
Okay, I'm all ears. What does that look like in practice?
Well, instead of just punishing offenders after the fact,
Right.
what if they actively rewarded positive behavior?
Okay.
Imagine a system where students and faculty who demonstrate exemplary allyship,
Right.
who champion inclusivity, they're recognized and celebrated.
I love that. It's about shifting the focus from punishment to positive reinforcement,
Right.
creating that ripple effect of good deeds.
Exactly. Planting those seeds of kindness and respect that can grow into this whole garden of positive change.
I love that.
Amit and Ria even suggest incorporating this into the curriculum. What if ethics courses, for example,
Right.
weren't just these theoretical exercises,
Yeah.
but they had these real-world projects where students had to design solutions for promoting inclusivity on their own campus.
Now, that would be a class I'd sign up for.
Yeah.
This deep dive has been heavy at times,
Yeah.
but it's also been incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
It's shown us that even in the face of tragedy, there's always room for hope, for innovation, for creating a better future.
I couldn't agree more. And it all starts with, conversations like this,
Right.
with raising awareness, challenging the status quo, and demanding better from our institutions.
And from ourselves.
Yeah.
We all have a role to play in building these safer and more inclusive communities. So as we wrap up this part of the deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. What can you do in your own life to contribute to that change? It might be something small, but remember, even small actions can have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
As we kind of delve deeper into this, you realize that this KIIT case is really just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
These issues aren't limited to one university or even one country. You see these challenges popping up at schools all over the world.
Yeah, and it's interesting how Amit and Ria connect this to like a larger societal issue, the pervasiveness of harassment and discrimination, both online and offline. They argue that what's happening on campus is often a reflection of what's happening in the world at large.
That's a sobering thought. So if we really want to tackle this problem, we need to look beyond just the universities.
Absolutely. They challenge us to consider how we can create a more empathetic and respectful culture as a whole. It's about challenging those deep-seated biases and prejudices that allow harassment to thrive in the first place.
This reminds me of something they said that really stuck with me, this idea that education isn't just about acquiring knowledge.
Right.
It's about shaping character.
Yeah.
What if we prioritize teaching empathy and respect as much as we prioritize academics?
So imagine a world where kindness and compassion were considered, core competencies.
Right.
Just like critical thinking and problem solving.
Right alongside them.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, it'd be incredible. It's about fostering this sense of shared humanity.
Yeah.
Recognizing that we all have a responsibility to create a world where everyone feels safe and respected.
Amit and Ria didn't touch on this specifically, but it makes me wonder.
Yeah.
Could technology play a role in preventing harassment? Could we use AI to, flag potentially harmful online interactions?
Right.
Or even predict situations that could escalate?
That's a really thought-provoking question. It makes you think, could we harness the power of technology to not just react to incidents, but actually prevent them from happening?
It's an intriguing possibility, and it really highlights how, this conversation needs to be ongoing.
Yeah.
The KIIT case is a tragic reminder of the work we still need to do, but it also sparks hope that we can find innovative solutions and create a better future for all students.
You've given us a lot to ponder today. This deep dive into the KIIT University case has been quite a journey.
Yeah.
We've gone from outrage at the university's initial response to exploring these systemic issues and brainstorming solutions.
Hopefully it sparks some new ideas for you listening.
Yeah.
What resonated with you the most? What actions might you take, however small, to contribute to a safer, more inclusive world?
Remember, change starts with each of us. Even a simple act of kindness or speaking up against injustice can make a difference. Let's keep this conversation going, challenge the status quo, and work together to create a world where tragedies like this become a thing of the past.
Well said. This has been a really insightful deep dive. Thanks for joining us.